you come to Dallas, Texas. You're here for the World Championship, and you're how old at this time?
13.
And you fell in love with the U.S.
We didn't have Coca-Cola, we didn't have Snickers, we didn't have rock and roll. So I was in heaven.
Did you come over here and say, I'm going to teach gymnastics, or did you pick up a waitressing job?
If I have to wash dishes, I'll wash dishes. She said, well, you know what, Dima, you don't know the language, but I'm going to send your CVs to all the gyms. My husband wasn't happy with this because she left messages on the phones as well, pretending she's me. So they call us immediately and said, I want to see you tomorrow morning at 10.
And you don't know English.
I didn't know any English.
All right. We're going to get to all of that in just a moment. But first, I want you to know how grateful I am for today's podcast sponsor, my friends at FitAF Nutrition. They are Eastern Pennsylvania's leading meal prep company. FitAF offers meals of multiple sizes for people with various health goals. And you know what I love about this company? They use high-quality ingredients like grass-fed meats, wild fish, and locally harvested produce. And all right, for you parents on the go, they even offer family meals. Go to fitafnutrition.com, place your order by Thursday at midnight, and get fresh, prepared meals delivered right to your door on Sunday. Use code RLECKY at checkout and get 20% off your first order.
Here we go, buddy. It's the Ryan Leckey Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Ryan Leckey Show. Look, lots of buzz around the Summer Olympics, and I thought, how cool would it be to chat with somebody who's been through the Olympics? Actually, it was in the 1980s. She's an Olympian, but I think what's so incredible about you, Dima Raynova in the house, you not only were in the Olympics, but I think your story of coming from Bulgaria to Queens to northeastern Pennsylvania and then building this incredible business that has trained just hundreds and hundreds of champions in gymnastics. It blows my mind. I feel like this is a story that probably wouldn't happen now if somebody tried it, but we have a lot to unpack because I think your story is inspiring. I think your focus on health, wellness, and fitness and what you teach young people from early on is incredible. Are you ready to do this?
Absolutely.
All right,
Ryan.
I'm super stoked. So first of all, it's Dima Raynova. Let me back into your story, right? Where did you grow up in the world?
I grew up in a small country in Eastern Europe called Bulgaria. We are surrounded by Greece, Turkey, Romania, and actually Ukraine over the Black Sea. And I grew up with my grandparents the first 6 years of my life because it was typical working parents were getting the help of the grandparents. So I grew up in a small village that did not change in the last 200 years with my grandparents in a farm.
Wow. But I have to ask you, in that small village, did they have gymnastics there? Because I feel like this has been in your blood since you were a kid.
No, absolutely not. They had a lot of trees for me to climb
Okay.
and natural surroundings. My parents moved me to the capital of Bulgaria, which is Sofia, and I had the opportunity to train gymnastics after my age of 6.
Wow. After 6 years old,
Yes.
you got into it. So take me through your journey, though, from Bulgaria to the United States. How did it happen? How old were you? Why did you do it?
Well, I've been selected to do gymnastics. They select children going through first grade children or kindergarteners and try to select by genetics and behavior, flexibility, strength, different tests, and then the government used to take care of us. My parents didn't have to pay back then.
In Bulgaria?
In Bulgaria. So I was doing gymnastics from age of 6.
But how did you get into it? Did you see somebody doing it and you're like, I want to do that?
No, absolutely not. I've been selected and then I started doing it.
That's it?
That's it.
Like, you didn't have to
I hadn't-
pre-qualify and be like, this 6-year-old's pretty fit.
No, I had no clue. But after I've been selected to do gymnastics, I obviously been a very good listener and very disciplined, and I was excelling. So I was selected to the junior national team on age of 9. And then on age of 13, we made a trip to the United States for a world championship. And it blew my mind. I fell in love with the country. So that's the long story short.
Where was the world championship?
In Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
We have 7-hour difference, so our coaches prepare us in Mexico City for a week to get situated with the time difference and the proximity of our peak performers. So, and from Mexico City, we drove with the bus to Dallas, Texas.
Wow. But at age 6, though, when you started in gymnastics in Bulgaria, did you love it or did you feel like you were forced into it?
Oh, no force at all. I fell in love with the sport, and I was fortunate enough to have a wonderful team of coaches, choreographers, even piano players, live piano players back then. We didn't have music or
To do your floor routines, you have live piano players.
Yes.
Wow. So tell me about it. You come to Dallas, Texas. You're here for the World Championship, and you're how old at this time?
13.
And you fell in love with the U.S.
Absolutely. Back then, the difference between the Eastern country and the Western country was huge, huge. We didn't have Coca-Cola, we didn't have Snickers, we didn't have rock and roll. So the difference was huge, huge. Wow. And I not only fell in love with the country, I was at my best sport-wise. And then I could not perform on this World Championship.
You couldn't perform?
I could not, because the competition for the first place was between Russia back then and Romania. But the rules and the regulations here in the United States kind of help the guy in charge of the competition, because here in the United States you certainly have to have a written permission from your parents if you're below 14, below 16, like consent. And I didn't have, back then the fax was the way that you sent information. So by the time they realized, my team coaches, by the time they realized, they get their act together to send fax to Bulgaria, to get back fax from my parents, I could not perform.
No.
So I had a week to observe the country.
Was that crushing, though?
It was crushing, but the Olympic game was next year. So my hopes didn't die. I just couldn't participate in this particular World Championship.
Didn't you want to just tell your coach, like, can't you just write the letter and we'll pretend it's mom and dad?
Well, he was thinking for a while, but then he was kind of putting online the whole team.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I did not tell him I was 13 years old, but he was debating for a long time, and then he did not take
Because he
this
didn't want to jeopardize the whole team.
Correct.
Got
He
it.
didn't want to jeopardize the whole team for the Olympic, and we had to qualify top 6 in order to make us a team to the Olympic, and we did so.
So here you are. You are not competing in that week you were supposed to, right? Because you didn't get the letter of consent from your
Correct.
parents. You're observing the U.S. You're falling in love with Dallas, Texas?
Absolutely, absolutely. It was this huge mall with ice skating arena, still there. I went to see it. I had $450. I'll never forget about this. I had toys. I had Mexican sombrero coming from Mexico. They took us to a cowboy, old-fashioned town that they were filming cowboy movies. I had cowboy cat. I had everything I can dream of on 13. So I was in heaven.
Wow. So take me through then. Ultimately, you go, because the Olympics at the time were the following year.
Yes.
For you. So you go back to Bulgaria
Yes.
after the event, and then walk me through, like, what happened after all of that?
It was December 1979. And the following year, like in 6 short months, was the Olympic game. I had European Championship, juniors again. I had Balkanican Games, which is my favorite because we were competing with Romania. They were top. Nadia Comaneci, so far the highlight of the sports at this time. And I beat her on balance beam. That's my favorite event. And that's my most valuable, I think, competition. I don't remember medals and awards so much because they never been the most important. Sincerely, you build up character, you carry on other valuables out of the sport. Medals are important, but never the most important thing.
Yeah. And at what point, though, did you say, I'm going to leave Bulgaria? Well, I mean, before we get to that, you competed, though. How did you get into the 1980 Olympics?
1980 Olympics, I don't remember much of it.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 14.
Okay.
And it was 44 years ago.
And you're representing Bulgaria at this
I'm
time?
representing Bulgaria, and we are 6 young girls, and we took 6th place out of the entire world. For us, huge success, absolutely huge success. And I was the first one to compete on floor, which is a huge trust, because the coaches back then had the opportunity to organize the order of the competitors. Right now, the computers do so. But back then, the coach will put the people that he trusts the most first, so they don't fail, and then the whole team, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail too, attitude. Not necessarily the high score, but the score that will put the team on the right mood. And then they build up a couple competitors to get to the high score, and then they hide couple competitors on the back that are a little bit iffy. So for me to be
First one on the floor. That's a lot of
first
pressure.
one on the floor, and the youngest, I remain historically for my country the youngest competitor because they changed the rules. So now you have to be 16 in order to compete on the Olympic game.
And the time you were 14.
Correct. So I will forever remain the youngest.
But I even think, before we think of you doing the floor routine at the Olympics, what was the training like that you went through? I mean, were you training like 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day? Were you lifting part of the day, doing gymnastics the rest of it? Like, unpack that, like Olympic training.
1 hour of ballet every morning.
Ballet.
Ballet. Then we had teachers coming to us at the gym. On the second floor, we have hotel rooms. So they will go with the private study. And then we'll have 3 hours of training. Then we'll have lunch and recovery. Then another 3 hours of training. So that's
Were you doing school at this time too?
the teachers used to come to us. So I was private student, and they will kind of
How were your grades?
excellent, always excellent. I'm a bookaholic.
Bookaholic. So you're training like nonstop during the day, right? You get to the Olympics, but tell me, when you stepped on the floor as like really like the first gymnast for your team to do the floor routine, what was going through your head? Do you remember that moment?
All excitement. If you're at your best, which can happen once a year, you're not at this level every month, every meet. You fly. You feel light and you fly. You're on the zone. You're in the zone. So if the coaches do a great job, they really prepare the athlete to this moment, so it's a brainless. You don't really think much.
Were you bummed that you had to do the floor routine because you said the balance beam was your wheelhouse,
Oh,
right?
no. I've done balance beam as well. All for events. Back then, the competition was whole week. You do compulsory routines, and then you do optional routines, finals. So it's a long process. Now the compulsory routines are out of the picture.
Okay. And how would you describe those routines, compulsory routines?
They were foundation, basic at its best. So I think they were wonderful. But maybe TV timing or interest of audience, they drop them off of
And
the
what
program.
would happen in those routines, though?
Everybody do the same routine.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Everybody do the same routine, the entire competition.
Okay. Well, that doesn't lend yourself to a lot of creativity on the floor.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So they drop them off of the program.
How did you feel when you guys took 6th place?
Phenomenal, because for us, the goal was to make to the Olympic. The previous generation did not make it as a team. So phenomenal. It brings points for the country. The Prime Minister was there to cheer us up, and then he invited us in the presidency. We had governor awards, so good. As a child, gymnastics is a sport that develops very young, at very young age, early age. So in the schools, most athletes succeed after their high school, most sports.
Yeah. Like football, right?
Correct.
You think football, people go to high school, they go to college, then they get picked for
Yes,
the NFL.
most sports. But gymnastics, you're at your best, let's say 16 years old now. I was 14. So the whole school was with my pictures. I was happy.
You were like a rock star back home.
Yes.
So walk me through. So the Olympics ends, right?
Yes.
At what point then did you maybe settle down, or you start, thinking of family life? And then walk me through what happened till you got to when you came back to the U.S.
Well, I went to college. I have master's in physical education and sport, and I fell in love, and I have 2 kids, one in college, one after college, very young. Now it's maybe very unusual, but back then was the usual thing. So by 24, I had family with 2 kids, and I never forget about my dream to come here, but I had to make it with the whole family. Unlike most of my teammates that been working here already, but you have to realize that back then to get visa or to come to the United States was impossible. So fast forward 1989, the democracy came in Bulgaria. So we were able to travel, and such thing as green card lottery was widely available around the globe, not just in Bulgaria, but in many countries. United States performed this. How exactly does it work? I don't know. But you apply with tons of information for the entire family, and then you get selected or you don't get selected. And you get a green card, which typically means that you get social security number, you're a lawful resident. And then you have to work 5 more years as a lawful resident at the country to be able to be a citizen. That's the path I took.
So what year did you come to the U.S. then?
We came in 1998.
And at this point, 1998, how old were your kids?
My kids were 8 and 12.
Wow. And you ultimately, when you came to the U.S., you went to where? Queens?
Queens, New York.
Why Queens? Like, how do you make up your mind, I guess? Because you were in Dallas, Texas, and you're like, this is pretty cool. So how did you ultimately pick Queens?
Well, to tell you the truth, I had my memory from United States, and I had the vision of couple movies with Fifth Avenue and Central Park.
Yeah. And that's what it was.
That's
But I think what's fascinating, but when you came over here, you didn't have a job right away.
No
So
job.
Walk me through that. So if you come, I mean, everything you knew was gymnastics in your life, right? Since you were
Correct.
a kid. You come over here, 1998.
Correct.
You have 2 still kind of small kids. You're married at this time.
Yes.
You don't speak any English.
0. 5 words. For whatever reason, I knew hi, bye, umbrella, coffee.
Got it. So you speak 5 words. Ultimately, how did you say, okay, I need to be able to provide for my family? Like, how do you even navigate that? Did you come over here and say, I'm going to teach gymnastics, or did you pick up a waitressing job?
No, I never pick anything else. I've been working. I was fortunate enough to work from the very first week, but this is what happened. We didn't know anybody, and a friend of a friend said, oh, come on, my kid's going to wait for you at the airport. So they've been waiting, and the sport built up this confidence that if I have to wash dishes, I'll wash dishes. If I have to take garbage, I'll take garbage. I had no worries that a physical job will stop me or any challenge to provide for my kids. But not knowing the language was a big challenge. And the fact that in Queens, I couldn't get the idea if they speak Spanish or English. I couldn't understand anything. There were smells of different kitchens, India, Mexico. The flavor is very, very broad. And the opportunity to find job with no language are very difficult. I had my CV and fax again to all the gyms around, and the friend that picked us up from the airport was actually a doctor, a girl. Her name is Daniela, and she was waiting to get a job for over half a year. So she said, well, you know what, Dima, you don't know the language, but I'm going to send your CVs to all the gyms. I'm going to send your resume and everything you can do in the world of gymnastics, and then we can wait for 6 months. You have some basics English. I know you work hard, you get to know things. Well, my husband wasn't happy with this. He said, don't, because she left messages on the phones as well, pretending she's me. So they call us immediately and said, I want to see you tomorrow morning at 10.
And you don't know English.
I didn't know any English. So by the time they say, hi, how would you like your coffee? My English was gone. And the first owner was very upset. And he said, but regardless of it, I like your knowledge of gymnastics, and I'll hire you, but I would like to watch you for a week working with every single gymnast in my gym. If I like what you do, what you demonstrate, and how you communicate, I will hire you. And it was a gym in Long Island, and they don't really have public transportation. They didn't have public transport, or if they did, it was once in a blue moon. So I will go from Queens with a subway then a train, and then I walk 45 minutes.
Wow.
And I did this for a year, in the sunny days, in the winter days, in the rainy days. That's all. That's the first year. But I also went to Manhattan to learn English in a church as an ESL program for a few months.
That's cool.
So by the time the third month roll, I was able to communicate some basics. And plus, I knew my terms in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Quickly learn. And they had 2 Russian coaches. I speak Russian, so it helped. Overall, they were happy with me.
And your husband got a job. Did he get
He got a job, different jobs in Manhattan, and he was driving a truck for a while. So that's...
Wow. I think the amazing thing, right? Like we're going to get to like the business you built in northeastern Pennsylvania soon. But I think what's incredible though, the struggle, I think of the walk, the commute. And sometimes though, I mean, like at one point you didn't have a lot of money, right? So
No.
you guys were furnishing your apartment, from what I understand, literally people who moved would throw stuff out on the sidewalk and you're like, wait, I could use that. You had to get really
Absolutely.
creative to keep your family like afloat.
Well, we were living in 1-bedroom apartment for $770 a month. The rent was $770 a month.
One bedroom apartment, 4
One
people.
bedroom, yes. And our money were melting like the snow in the spring. So furnishing, yes, absolutely. We were taking different things. We had actually a friend that remodeled Sheraton, and every time they have some remodeling, we'll take a piece, and we also take a piece from the street. So we did furnish, and our son was 12 years old, and our daughter was 8 back then. So our son will come from school and pick up our daughter because, again, I was at work. I was coming back home midnight, because the essential part of the gymnast is they go to school first and then they go to training, and it's about 9:30 when it's over. So
So you did that 45-minute walk at night, and then you'd get on a train, and then the
subway,
Right? Wow. How long was the commute in all?
over an hour,
Each way?
way over an hour.
Wow. So you did that for about a year, you said, right?
Yes, full
and then
year.
At what point is it after that year you decided, I want to move out of New York?
The same friend that was waiting for us at the airport got a job in VA hospital in Wilkes-Barre. She came here, she said, oh my goodness, the properties are cheaper, the grass is greener, the trees, the environment for family, it's absolutely better. So I didn't have a second thought. And back then, Keystone Gymnastics in Dunmore was looking for a coach. And
So that was your first job.
Correct.
So you come here to northeastern Pennsylvania. What was the year?
1999.
Wow. And then you get a job
Yes.
working for somebody else's gymnastics school.
Yes.
And you're doing it. And then eventually, did you feel like, I could go do this, or I could go launch my own business?
Absolutely not. I didn't have a dream for this.
You didn't. You just said, I
No.
just want to stay as a coach.
Yes, my husband was driving truck for like 5-6 days a week. My kids were teenagers, so I didn't look for a business. We just purchased a home, but the business was struggling because the previous owner had a dream to go to New York City and be a star. And as a team manager and as a person that takes care of these kids to grow their level of competence and they eventually go to college, I had such a hard time with a business that is not up to where it should be. So at some point I just said either fix it or sell it. We need more attention at the business. And he asked me immediately, do you want to buy it? I had no anticipation, no dream of, no preparation, no money, zero money. And the trust of the parents, friends, and family that lended a hand and money, literally their change, made me believe that I have no way to fail. How was the Apollo slogan? Failure is not an option.
Right. Failure was not an option.
Correct.
For you. So you had the backing of families in this area, northeastern
Yes.
Pennsylvania, who said, I believe in you. I want you to coach my kid.
Absolutely. They were saying
So there was families who essentially, did you say some people loan you some money to buy the business?
all of them, from the zero to whatever I needed at the moment. They didn't even ask me, when are you going to return this money? They just needed the training to continue the way it should be. They asked me, how much do you need? I didn't have to ask. They were saying, if you rent this storage place, we're going to follow you in the storage place.
Yeah. That's a lot of pressure.
A lot.
So
But-
you open, essentially, then you change the name of it
Correct.
to United Sports Academy.
Yes.
And that was what year?
2006.
2006. Wow. And it's because of the belief of people and the kindness of people in northeastern Pennsylvania who said, Dima, we want you to coach our kids. We want you to own this business and run it. We're going to back you up. How is
And
it?
the staff of the academy.
Yeah.
The staff is my extended family.
Yeah.
I have staff members that are there for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years. It's meaningful.
And how has, I guess your business sense grew then when you started, you worked for somebody. How did you learn business? Because then all of a sudden, even now you have multiple things going on, right? It's not just United Sports Academy. You're renovating an old church into a cultural center, right?
Yes.
You're doing a lot of stuff for the community, but how did you learn business?
Books, blogs, and mentors.
Wow. Tell me about United Sports Academy now. Let's talk about that. What does that place mean to you? Because you have trained, tell me about some of the champions you've trained and these amazing competitions. You have taken kids from little kiddos to teenagers to some pretty big events.
Well, this year alone, we have over 50 state champions. Wow. 2 national medalists, 10 national qualifiers, 2 national medalists, and 2 girls going to Ivy Leagues. One to University of Pennsylvania and one to Cornell. It's huge for a small place in Dunmore. It's literally huge.
Yeah, you guys are like the little engine that could, right? So describe for me the work and the training you do to get somebody to state championships, national level. I mean, have you had anybody you coached ever that you're like, this person could make the Olympic team?
We are starting Olympic program now in our trampoline and tumbling facility in Scranton. Because trampoline is an Olympic sport, not very popular here, but it's an Olympic sport. It doesn't require the same time as gymnastics, because gymnastics has 4 events, balance, beam, and bars require an enormous amount of time to master. Trampoline, it's only 1 event that takes less time, and it's possible to have Olympians, we believe and we hope,
On the trampoline.
on the trampoline one day, soon, from here. Gymnastics, although we provide Olympic training, we do not aim for Olympians. We believe that well-rounded individuals with a great academics and athletic achievements is a better opportunity for today's days and United States in 2024. We believe that they have all the opportunities, and if they choose gymnastics, should not be the sacrifice of education for gymnastics.
That's super important. And I think that's what brings me back to an organization you and your daughter founded. What is that organization? Because it came about in 2013.
Correct. Athletes Caring Together.
Athletes Caring Together. I love that.
It's a non-profit organization, and we established this after a volunteer trip in South Africa. We went to teach sports and gymnastics in South Africa for a month, and coming back, we decided that it will be a fabulous thing if we establish this organization. It's not only to provide for children that otherwise they cannot do sports, but to educate them. In most parts, it's the parents' job, but not all parents realize the importance of the sport and the importance of the well-being and the importance of well-rounded children. So basically, those are the missions. But over the years, we host the Janet Rothenberg Memorial at Kalahari, and we actually give away over $75,000 in scholarships.
Yeah, I remember because you actually brought in the Ryan Leckey media team to cover that event as a highlight reel. And it was really powerful because you had an athlete who was very close to your business, and what happened because you started a tournament in her memory, but ultimately the money raised helped gymnast.
Yeah, she was 19 years old when she passed away unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm in China, on a trip in China. And
You guys wanted to do something to remember her.
correct, she was a team member. great family, wonderful friends. They actually were in between the people that help establish. They found a place for the gymnastics
The tournament.
community. Yes,
Yeah.
not only the tournament, but here in Dunmore.
Right. And I think what's amazing, you take the money from the Janet Rothenberg Memorial, like gymnastics meet, and you put that towards scholarships for high schoolers, right?
Going to college with sport. Yeah,
Yeah.
this year we have 3. We had 3 recipients of scholarship.
What does that feel like, though? Because I know you and your daughter Amelia started this in 2013, athletes caring together. That was like one event, right? And then you also had this tournament that you created.
Oh, we had many more. She just ran one in Mayfield, youth games.
A youth game?
Yeah, not long ago. It was totally free of charge. Same thing, awareness of the sport, of the contribution, of it's just kids volunteering, helping each other, promoting the benefits of the sports, providing opportunities. So
Let me
it's
ask
all
you
about
this.
sports.
What age do you think is a great age for kids to get involved in gymnastics?
Oh, particularly in gymnastics, year and a half. We start 15 months old.
15 months old? What are
Yes.
they doing at like a year and a half?
Mommy and me, it's a bonding time. They crawl. You have no idea of the benchmarks and the benefits of the motoric and in general, active kids versus inactive kids on this age. It helps the brain development. It helps the memorization. It helps, tremendously.
And a lot of those kids maybe just continue through gymnastics with you. Are not enough kids going into gymnastics anymore like they used to? Or do you still feel like the sport's thriving?
Oh no, the sport is thriving. By age of 3, they go by themselves. I think the kids still love gymnastics. The parents don't love to travel anymore. They prefer things delivered to their doors. Okay. And we cannot deliver.
Can't deliver gymnastics to the door. You mean, Dima, that you don't go to people's houses and do this. You got to come to Dima.
Amazon does.
Yeah.
Food does. Yes, but we'll have to continue the way we do.
Yeah, because you need that in-person training.
Correct. So it's important for the young parents to find time to drive and to search and to develop their children with sport, regardless of the sport.
Is there a time frame where you feel like gymnasts tap out? I mean, like you said, obviously, like when you were, it was like 9 and 14 and 16 is like the prime age, right?
Yes.
At like 20, or 20 or 25, you're like hanging up and retire, go be a coach. Like at what
Correct.
age do you think like it?
Correct. Typically around 21 when they graduate from college. Is not a sport with a long life. Although we have Chesuvitina that has 6 Olympic Games. She's an exception.
And who is that again?
Chesuvitina, it's a girl from Uzbekistan with the most Olympic Games in the world.
Wow.
She was visiting us here in Dunmore, but she's unique. It's not a sport with a long life.
And is that because of the injuries or what's required with training? Every sport has injuries, we should say.
But what's required? You really have to sacrifice many things. And then life gets you and you have to balance, but you balance between many things. And professional sport, that's another thing. Gymnastics doesn't bring money from professional sport, like many other sports.
Like endorsements and
Correct.
sponsorships.
It does for the Olympians, but not for the rest of the population.
Wow. Ultimately, what has been sort of the thing that's inspired you to keep going as a coach? Is it seeing somebody from the mommy and me and then becoming 9 and then 16 and you're like, you've been with them through their whole journey and you see how they excel? Or like what?
This is the spark. You see these young ladies, I can cry over. I have a girl in Yale, in University of Pennsylvania, in Cornell. Imagine the impact they will make on the world. They've done gymnastics. They went because of the gymnastics, and every one of them will admit this. Other than this, the line is 20,000 people apply for one spot in these colleges.
20,000 people
Typically,
Wow.
Yale, it's 20,000 people for one spot in.
on the gymnastics team.
Not just if you're not on the gymnastics
Oh,
team.
okay.
On the
Got it.
gymnastics, the line is shorter, but still, it's a global thing.
You got to be that good.
Every athlete that speaks English and has a good academics can apply for any of them. It's not for United States only.
But for you see that growth and you see the spark that goes off in them and to see their journey. Is that what inspires you to keep going and
Absolutely.
teaching?
Every coach in the world, that's their motivation, that's their reward, that's their satisfaction.
So in addition to United Sports Academy, right, I think what's amazing, you learned English after coming here from Bulgaria, right? I think you speak English well. You learn English, you're raising your family, you move from Queens after a year to northeastern Pennsylvania. The kindness and compassion people have for you to like live your dream because they also believed in what you were doing for their kids. They kind of help you launch that. Were you able to pay all those people back?
Yes, within a year.
A year you paid those people back?
Correct.
That's so impressive because I think a lot of people maybe probably give money and be like, I don't know if she's going to pay me back, but you did it.
And what was the most challenging is that our daughter Emmy had a horrible car accident. Like, I spent a month in the hospital with her. We walked within the first year. It happened within the first year. So the staff was very supportive and amazing. The trust all these people put in me continued to grow. So challenges make us stronger, and the sport is teaching us on this. That's another very valuable thing about the sports, that you learn to earn. You cannot buy this.
You learn to earn. What do you mean by that?
Earn your spot, earn your toughness, earn your accomplishments, earn your... You just... Daddy cannot buy this for you. No money can buy this. You have to be the one doing it.
You got to do the work.
Correct.
What do you think are some of the biggest characteristics of gymnastics that you see really come out in young athletes, that you say this sport teaches kids X? What is that?
Discipline. You have to control your entire body. In most sports you do, but in gymnastics in particular, you have to be strong, flexible, coordinated. So discipline, I also, and also willpower. Willpower to overcome fear, challenges, falls. And in life, in any discipline, in yours, in any area of life, you need knowledge and willpower. Without both, it's equal zero. You may have the knowledge. If you don't have the willpower, you cannot succeed.
It's not going to do it.
You may have the willpower. If you don't have the knowledge, again, it's zero. So you need both.
And being in gymnastics this long, right, and doing, gosh, I think of you coming over to Dallas, Texas, when you were ready for the world championship, but you couldn't compete. And then through your life as a gymnast, what was one of the worst injuries you ever faced?
I don't have any injuries.
Knock on wood. Really?
I don't have injuries. I was extremely lucky. And that's another great preparation. I think flexibility and strength working together. I think if you're missing one of the both, you get hurt. I mean, accidents happen and injury happens to most athletes, but if you develop both simultaneously, you kind of prevent as much as you can.
And I think, I don't want to say how old you are, your age. I think you look phenomenal, and I still see you doing it. I remember dropping by United Sports Academy, and I'd be like, God, she's still killing it.
And I have handstands around the world. I travel a lot.
Yeah,
And
I see the pictures, and I'm like, dang, Dima. Like, it's amazing.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of my age or the way I look, because it's very natural, and I'm a happy grandmother of 4 children. So it's
I know,
amazing.
you're a grandmother of 4. And you know what's amazing, too? You have spent a lot of time as well, in addition to coaching, training athletes, right? Possibly future Olympians. You've also written books, The Notion of Motion, The Meaning of the Minute. These are journals for dreamers. What was your inspiration behind some of these? Because I think what's really interesting, you write about, like, you have options in some of your books, like what happened in your day, right? How did you help at home today? Like, who are these geared toward? And do you give these to your athletes?
Yes, they're geared towards young athletes to teach them, A, to be humble when they win and when they lose. B, to
be humble. I love that. Yes.
B, to be helpful at home. They cannot expect, being a champion, everybody needs to serve them. They need to help at home. They need to read books. They need to realize that the time spent with friends, family, and outdoor is as important as the time behind the screen. I'm a little worried about how much time kids spend behind the screens those days, not realizing this. So keeping these journals make them aware.
And you're like, get out there and be active. But I think what's so great about that, these almost remind me of like parts of them, small gratitude journals as well.
Yes,
To look at what you have in your life,
correct.
how you gave back to others. How many of these books did you write?
There are 4 altogether, and they last 3 months each. And they are about the meaning of the minute, that we need to dream.
The
So in
meaning
this-
of the minute. Do you sell these on Amazon or anything?
I don't sell them on Amazon. My marketing is a little, this is your strength. We can
Okay.
talk about this. But the power in the hour is after you dream, you have to put the hour. You have to put the timing into it. And then the magic of the moment is when you really dream about it and you put the time in, then you have the magic of the moment and you really succeed. Teaching them the valuables about the dreams and taking the small steps and stay focused. Avoid the distractions.
And I feel like being here, right? I think what's really cool, you've also innovated around the sport of gymnastics. What I mean by that, you launched like ninja train, like fun stuff that kids would want to get involved with, because you talk about the concern about young people behind the screen so
Yes.
much. Tell me about some of the programs you've implemented or other businesses to get kids active, just besides gymnastics, because it still has a touch of it, but it's different. It's kind of packaged differently.
It's different, and it's mainly for kids to overcome obstacles. The Ninja Nook actually was designed from Amy, from my daughter, and
Which is located in Lackawanna County. You're talking about the Ninja Nook, which is basically like, if you've seen that show, American Ninja Warrior, it kind of reminds you of that.
yes, and established by our son. He did all the remodelings.
Right.
So the whole family was involved. When we decided to do this, we went with Bulgarian company Wowtopia, their leader in the industry. They built all over the world, actually the most in China, which is unique. But they are here in the United States in many, many areas. And the rock climbing is an Olympic discipline as well. We don't have rock climbing, speeding rock climbing side by side, just
Yeah.
for 3 seconds. The rope course and the ninja obstacles are created not only to be physically fit, but to think how to overcome the obstacle.
Because you're not kidding. When I even did that course, you're like,
Yes.
okay, what do I grab on? Where am I going to go? It wasn't like you just got on a zip line and went, and I was very impressed by even some of your young athletes who could zip through it. But watching them, they're thinking, okay, what bar do I grab here to get to the next so I don't fall off? Like, it's impressive.
Correct. So this is about the ninjas. And then our trampoline and tumbling program. We have roller skating rink in Mayfield as well. And our gymnastics. The church in West Piston will be my graduation project, my retirement project.
That is, because you're renovating basically an old church and you're trying to turn it into a really cool community cultural center. You've taken a really rundown church that was closed for a while and you
Yes.
are bringing it back to life.
Yes, we envision art, music, dance. We envision a place for people to socialize and to develop their arts.
And Dima, when you went to the World Championship in the U.S. in Dallas, Texas, the one that you didn't have your parents' consent, so you couldn't compete, how old were you again?
13.
What do you think 13-year-old Dima would say to this Dima now? Would she be blown away about what you did? I mean, what are you most proud of in your whole life? With this career as an Olympian in the 80s, building multiple businesses, coming here not speaking, you spoke 5 words of English, you said. What are you most proud of?
Well, I'll say my family, because it's very challenging those days and times to stay supportive, to stay together, to go through all these major challenges, and at the same time to remain together, not only with them, but with the staff of United Sports Academy, which is the extended family. And also to be able to provide opportunities for other people to reach their goals, for other staff members or children to get wild and to dream big. So that's...
And you mentioned before, one of your things you still do, grandmother of 4, you do handstands all over the world.
Yes.
What was the coolest place?
Well, the national parks, actually, I'm in love with the national parks of the United States. So I did in Zion Park, I did in the Arizona. I've done in all over. I haven't been in Yellowstone yet. I've done in the Redwoods, so traveling around.
And Dima, looking at this, I guess from 30,000 feet, right? From somebody who grew up and was born and raised in Bulgaria, you came over to the United States when you were 13, Dallas, Texas, for this world championship. You're blown away by the U.S. You're like, oh my gosh, I love it here. What do you think Americans take for granted?
The freedom and the opportunity to dream big. I have to tell you that I love volunteering. And I volunteer Thanksgiving dinner at the community center downtown Scranton. And we purchase food and we prepare the food and the people were gracious enough to even iron cloth the tablecloths. They were white, they were sparkling. And I invite the people on the line waiting for the food to come in and help with the tablecloths. And most of them didn't really want to do this. So I think taking for granted all the opportunities this country is providing, it's a sin. You can work anywhere now. Every job you'd like to. Kidding me? You can, pretty much every second door is looking for workers, right? Am I right? Mm-hmm. Such a demand. You can do second job, you can do a dream job, you can be taking the chance and build up your destiny. But the easy way, the comfortable way, it's hard to get out. It's actually.
So you look at everything here and say, wow, this is amazing. And I'm sure this area, to help you achieve that dream,
absolutely
has probably meant beyond words.
Look at how green it is. You have this beautiful view. You created something cool. Just the opportunity you have. Think about it. You had the comfortable job.
I did it, for 21 years,
You took a step to build up your dream
Yeah.
way of doing it. And I think it's amazing. It's amazing. The opportunities are endless. But think about it. Change, those days and times, it's a must. If you cannot change, you cannot change anybody else. The mindset used to be like moving slow and slow. Now we have to change, we have to adapt, we have to adjust, we have to really move forward by changing.
And to me, you have to, that sounds like thinking like a gymnast, right?
You have to tumble.
As you tumble, right?
You have to tumble.
I think that's the quote. You have to tumble in life. You just got to keep going.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. All right.
Absolutely.
And Dima, if people want to learn more about what you do, if they have a little one looking to get into gymnastics, right, or just families, what's the easiest way to connect with you guys?
Well, United Sports Academy Gym.com or 96 Flips.
96flips.com?
No, this is our phone, 570-96 Flips.
Oh, 570-96 Flips is the phone number.
Correct.
And it's amazing because I see so many people who I kind of saw grow up in this area, get married, raise their family, and I see their kids learning from you. Sometimes I'm on Instagram and I'm like, oh my God, my friend Lindsay's kid is training with Dima. And it's so cool of the lives you've touched, but also how you had a dream. And like you said, you kind of just kept thinking like a gymnast, just keep tumbling and adapting. And it's amazing. And I think, like you said, taking a step back. And when sometimes people think, oh my gosh, America, this, that, right? It's somebody like you who came here when, you were 13 years old, right?
Yeah.
13 years old, you came here and you're like, gosh, I fell in love with this country. And you haven't lost that passion since.
Absolutely not. And I think the country is beautiful. And I think we need to explore the opportunities.
Okay.
And to keep dreaming.
And with that, Dima Raynova, you're the best. It was so great to kind of help tell your story. Is there anything I didn't ask that you want to add?
No, Ryan, I am so thankful and so humbled to be here. I cannot express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity. You're a brave person.
No, I was so excited to help do this. I just wish I could handstand like you all over the world.
Well,
Maybe that's my next goal.
When I was younger, I was dreaming to be a journalist. I was dreaming to be. And then I read this first and last article in the local newspaper, and I decided, oh, you know what? I better be the hero in the gymnastics world than the journalist that is represented.
I love you. Dima, thanks so much for being on the Ryan Leckey Show. I appreciate you. I hope you took something out of it. And the bottom line, dream big, right?
That's it.
Just do it.
That's it. Just do it.
Just
Thank
do
you.
it. Thanks so much,
you.
Dima. And thank you for joining us again. I'll see you next time.
Here we go, buddy.